This first one's a drummer's choice.
Whoa.
The red and blues. Out there on the neon avenue. But I feel like a stranger. Feel like a stranger. Here's the thunder. We're reckless and high. Keep burning in the great room. And I can't wonder just what you got. Get me up on the phone real soon. But I feel like a stranger. Feel like a stranger.
Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is a special live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app and stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. And we can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And we are about 1 week away from a benefit concert that's been going on for quite some time, looking to eradicate all types of different eye conditions and visual impairments across the globe, global threats. And one of the cats on the board of the foundation, known as SIVA, is the ultimate impresario, character, poet, jazz wizard, Thelonious Sphere monk, Wavy Gravy. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Wavy Gravy, hippie icon, flower geezer, and temple of accumulated error. And SEVA board member, spelled S-E-V-A, but pronounced Seva, and it's a Sanskrit word meaning service to humankind. And our main slice is curable and preventable blindness. 85% of the people that are blind in the world do not need to be blind and can get their sight back for about $45. And we've done over 4 million sight-saving operations in the 40 years that we've been at it. And we're about to do a bunch more because we got a big concert coming up on the island of Maui honoring Ramdas. And it's going to be Jackson Brown, Joan C. Baez, and Krishna Das, who was a singer of Kirtans to God.
Right, and actually, it's a perfect segue here because I wanted to put in this quote. I want you to listen to this, and then I want you to come back and we'll break it down, okay?
Okay.
The plains of India and got back up into the mountains where Maharaji was. And the night before, they had stayed at this person's house some long distance away on the plains. And in the middle of the night, Ramdas got up to go take a piss. And he walks out of the house and on his way to the outhouse. And he looks up at the stars, and the sky's all sparkling and beautiful. And he was thinking about his mother, who died 6 months before. And he felt very close to her for the first time since she died. And then he goes in peace and goes back to sleep. Next morning, they get into the car and they drive all day, many hours. And in the late afternoon, they find themselves with Maharaji up in the hills. Because this other guy knew where Maharaji was. It was his guru. So Ramdas is sitting there, and Maharaji looks at him and said, "You were out under the stars last night?" Ramdas goes, "Yeah." And Maharaji said, "You were thinking about your mother?" Yeah. She died. Yeah. She got very big here, and he puts his hand over where the spleen is. She died of cancer of the spleen, right? She got very big here before she died. Yeah. And Maharaji looks at Ramdas, and in English, he says, spleen. And at that moment, Ramdas fell apart. And he wept like a baby. And his whole life changed at that moment.
All right, I play that for you for only one reason, and that is because this concert is dedicated to Ramdas.
Ramdas.
And can you talk about the spiritual power that I know you originally came across him and you were like, who is this guy with this aura? But over time, you got it. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit overarchingly about how you view Ramdas and his significance towards humanity.
No. I first knew Ramdas before he was Ramdas. He was Richard Alpert, and he and Tim Leary had just been kicked out of Hartford for sharing psychotropics with undergraduates, and he came by and gave a talk at the committee, which was an improvisational theater. I wasn't Wavy Gravy yet either. I was Hugh Romney. And we were doing topical improvisation, speaking out against the war in Vietnam, of course, and all that kind of stuff. And Dick Alpert came in and gave a talk on Monday night, and I thought to move. He started talking about his big aura and stuff, and I thought, excuse me, I started to disbelieve any aura shucking. Until we were doing a show with the Grateful Dead at San Francisco State that Stuart Brand had set up called Whatever It Is. And Ramdas came, well, first of all, I ran into Owsley in the airport, and he put a little something on my tongue.
Right.
And I was seeing people's auras. And Ramdas showed up. And he could barely get through the door. His aura was so big, it bent
Yeah, no.
as he came through the door. And then I saw it go, boing! It's this enormous, big-ass aura. And I thought, well, seeing is believing.
I mean, you were tripping out. But I mean, over time, how have you worked with Ramdas specifically? I mean, you're on the board of SIVA. I'd love you to talk about a specific time of how you, well, first of all, let's go back. Let me know exactly how you originally connected with Dr. Larry Brilliant.
Well, that is thanks to the brothers Warner that were looking to do a sequel to Woodstock. And they fell into the conniving clutches of the great Tom Donahue, who invented underground FM radio. And it was his vision that we do a convoy of buses driving around the country and stopping and setting up a stage, and believe it or not, a whole bunch of tie-dyed teepees. And then Warner Brothers would fly in their stars like Van Morrison and Jethro Tull. My God, we had Joni Mitchell singing around a campfire. By the way, Joni did show up with Clive Davis at an event a few days ago. She was in a wheelchair, but bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That's very good news.
Such good news.
You know, this is amazing. Hold on, I'm gonna go back because I was transcribing our first Cosmic interview, and so Larry was going to Cuba to cut sugarcane. So how did you even know him before that? Not very well.
But
you said to him,
he was editing a magazine.
Right.
He was editing a magazine called Body Politic. I think we were staying at his house for some reason or other, and we were all segued into this parking lot down by the pier in San Francisco, where all these buses were loading up to do this cross-country tour, stopping every which way to put on concerts and then pack up and go to the next place, and filming it all through this French film director named Francois Rauschenbach, who made a documentary about Arthur Rubinstein and a documentary, a damning documentary about the Texas Rangers. And so Francois was on board, and we being the hog farm, we had a couple of buses hooked up in that, and we all went across country. Memorable stops. Did I talk to you about Dr. Larry crewed onto our Greyhound? We had a 48 Greyhound that we got from a Catholic high school basketball team. We're sick and tired of driving around the country in a painted bus being stopped every 30 miles by the police, who wanted to see just what we were up to. And we would end up with them on the bus helping change diapers and giving them coffee and all that stuff. But it did get in the way of us getting from A to B. So when the opportunity came for us to score this semi-invisible bus, we snatched it up and grooved it out so it could crew 16 people. And Larry and his wife, Elaine, who later became Gurja, signed on to our crew. And we became better and better and better friends until these days he's just my best friend.
He is your best friend.
And has written an amazing book just out that...
sometimes brilliant.
I just did a book signing reading with him at this event at Fort Mason in San Francisco, hosted by Stuart Brand, who founded the Whole Earth Catalog, which was and is the hippie Bible. And,
I mean, some people would say that you're
many
oral history of the hippie Bible, actually. I mean, this to me, okay, so when I interviewed Krishnadas, he said that it was Maharaji who told Larry Brilliant it was his responsibility to go and
to eradicate smallpox.
I want you to, from your point
He called him Dr. America. He said, "You, Dr. America, go to New Delhi and tell the United Nations that you're here to help eradicate smallpox, because it's God's gift to humankind that smallpox that kills like millions of people every year throughout the centuries is going to be eliminated by WHO, World Health Organization." So Larry went to the World Health Organization on this funky bus. It took some days to get there from the ashram in Kemchi all the way to Delhi. And they said, "Get out of your left-wing pinko, you're not even an epidemiologist." So they chased him away, and he went back to the guru, and the guru said, "You go again." And they chased him away, and he went back, and the guru said, "You go again." I think it was like 5 times. So finally they said, "Okay, you can do some filing and help out." And Larry ended up running the American team for the eradication of smallpox, which is the only major disease in the history of the world to be totally eradicated. And I think everybody should put their hand on the radio and go whoopee for the eradication of smallpox.
Whoopee, baby.
Because this is an amazing thing that people from like 20, 30 countries came together, including the Ruskies and the US's, and made this miracle come to pass. Now, can I talk to you? Did I talk to you about our stop, for instance, in Yellow Springs, Ohio, at Antioch College.
No, please riff on that.
Oh, this is a good one. First of all, the convoy of us and our house band, which was Stoneground.
Wow, really?
As we're driving across country, putting on shows, we're being plagued by this giant, hearse. With a Viet Cong flag painted on the side of it and a four-poster bed on the roof, driven by the infamous Thomas King Facade, the editor-publisher of High Times magazine. And in his clutches also David Peel of the Lower East Side, who discovered that mother rhymes with brother and worked it into eternity. Anyhow, we're pulling into Yellow Springs. Oh, I forgot. We were asked to do a big concert in San Luis Obispo, and it was after Altamont with the whole problem with the Hells Angels. So I thought, I have an idea. Instead of a motorcycle gang for security, we could use a moat full of Jell-O.
You told me this. No, the red Jell-O was shimmering in the morning.
Okay, yeah, that was in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I did tell you that.
That
story.
was I didn't know that was in Yellow Springs, Ohio. That is the most beautiful ambient state I could. But I'm trying to get the chronology here. I mean, what did you think when Brilliant was coming back saying, "Hey, there's this guy Maharaji"? I mean, you've always been skeptical of gurus. I mean, how did he ultimately? Has he ever talked about, maybe in the book, how he made a breakthrough and got people to be convinced that he was driven enough to go on this crusade to to eviscerate this smallpox?
No, Larry had come with me after our whole adventure in Nepal and driving the buses over the Khyber Pass, everything. He came and set up back surgery for me at his hospital in San Francisco. And he proceeded to panhandle an operating room for Bangladesh and then took off for Southeast Asia in quest of his wife, who was in Kemshi with Ramdas and the Nimkaroli Baba. And so Larry made his way to the ashram to try and extract his wife, who had become Gurja. And it was who I called the Nimkaroli Baba. I call him Popeye. But I'll tell you, when I had my surgery, and I know what it was to have back surgery. I'd had a few of them. But I came out of this back surgery feeling like a combination of Danny Kaye and Ouspensky. I mean, I was out of the body. The walls were turning into jewels and light. And I thought, what is going on? And I later found out that at that time, that ashram was beaming healing love and energy at me from India. And I got hit with it like you would not believe.
So it was a completely visceral. It was a total body feeling.
Oh my God! And I thought it was going to last, but the next day I turned into somebody that just had back surgery. And it was later that I found out that at that time they were beaming the love juice at me, and I was sucking it up. Oh my God!
Love juice, gravy with the love juice. We're getting all sorts of gravy here live on Power Talk. I mean, when did you become? So I mean, Brilliant takes down smallpox with a group of many, and then he decides to go on this quest to eradicate cataracts and a multitude of visual impairments.
Yeah, let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
Larry had returned after the smallpox eradication to the University of Michigan, where he was teaching public health, and Gurja was going for MPH. And his boss in India, was this amazing woman named Nicole Grasset, who got the Legion of Honor for bringing measles vaccine into Beirut through ACAC and an aircraft fire and stuff like that. An amazing woman. She came to the University of Michigan and said, Larry, we must do something about this blindness, figuring that the next thing after smallpox would be blindness. As I said, 80% of the people in the world that are blind don't need to be and can get their sight back. A simple cataract surgery takes 15 minutes. Bandages go on, they come off the next day, and suddenly you can see. And if you're blind in the third world, you're referred to as a mouth without hands. It's detrimental to the family, to the village, all over the place. And then suddenly, wham, you can see again. You're back on the job. You're playing with your grandchildren. It's a miracle. And
what about kids? Hold on, I want to ask you something. What about
participate in this miracle? And we got invited to do this practice in through Nicole's entree into Nepal because of her work in smallpox and the other things in her amazing career. And so we all came together with a small grant from Steve Jobs.
Yes.
Into Heartlands, Michigan.
I love it.
And that's where Ramdas and the docs from the health workers, me and my wife Jahanara, and Larry and Gurja, and et cetera, we all came together. Nicole pitched us about possibly taking on blindness, and we all said yes. And that's when I was given the job to try and get the Grateful Dead to perform for Seva. So I went to Detroit to get on the airplane, and who else was on the airplane but the Grateful Dead?
No
and they
way.
didn't have parachutes.
No.
They did not have parachutes. So I started with the drummers and ended up with Jerry saying we might as well do it. And that was the first benefit. Bill Graham didn't know it was a benefit. Why am I the last to find out these things? God damn it!
What can we get a year on this, Wavy?
Oh my God!
What was it 77? I mean, listen. All I'm saying is this.
Yeah, something. Let me.
I can do some research. No, here's the thing. This is the thing because there's this.
Here, hold on. I have a copy of my last book, which is called "Something Good for a Change," and in the back of "Something Good for a Change," I have a thing called "A Brief Sketch of My Thumbnail," and in that, it gives years. So, what were you estimating? 70 who?
Well, I just Detroit to me, they didn't go there with Brent for a while, and I'm just trying to figure out when the smallpox thing came on Brilliant's radar, and ultimately when that was.
I'm looking.
Yeah. No, I think my
69 was Woodstock. I think we set across with the buses with food and medical supplies in 1971.
Right.
So 72 was when Larry set up my back surgery.
First
72.
Right, because there's this incredible bootleg VHS. I don't know if you still have a VHS player, but there's this incredible, from I think your favorite venue, the Berkeley Community Theater, an acoustic gig from 81, Con Garcia, Weir, and Joan Baez. But that was 81. That was 1981. So
hey, do you know that one of them was my 50th birthday? And I'm 80 now, so it was 30 years ago. You do the math. But here's the deal. At the end of the show, my wife takes the mic away from me and said, Wavy Gravy, we cannot let you orchestrate your entire birthday. And
right, and your son came out in chocolate pudding, the vat of chocolate pudding.
Yeah, he is in a bathtub full of chocolate pudding. He is hiding in the bottom of the pudding with a snorkel.
Okay, I'm going to get. Listen,
and leaped out of the chocolate pudding and blew my mind.
we have a 1979.
That was
1979 was the first SIVA benefit concert. That was the first one. Raised a
Seva.
First Seva benefit concert. And
Come on, Seva.
there's a picture of David Crosby and Wavy there. I'm looking at the homepage. So, I mean, ultimately,
Yes.
79. So we've targeted it to 79. How did you? Was any? I mean, how? What was it? Did you have to go to every member of the Dead, or did it land at the end with Jerry?
Well, out of courtesy, I went to everybody. But it was very funny that nobody told Bill it was a benefit. But then I was sitting with Parrish backstage, and Bill hands me this slip of paper, and it turns out it's a check for $10,000 for Seva. And I said, Bill, why are you doing this? He said, because you did not hit on me, my friend. I remember that distinctly.
Oh, man. I was going to say, when did I was going back through our interview, and you talk about Len Chandler and all these incredible John Brent. I mean, these guys are heady cats. And I'm like, well, when did the beautiful little Joan Baez come on Wavy Gravy's radar originally?
I was at the Gaslight.
I figured.
And a couple times she picked me up at her XKE at one point, Jaguar, and took me to Max's Kansas City for a big hairy steak. That's a Kinky Friedman quote there. and she also, I remember her bringing Arlo Guthrie into the Gaslight for me to meet him.
Wow.
And I remember he had a very large necktie.
So, I mean, but you...
And what a lovely man, and I'm so connected to Arlo over the years. And we've done many things together.
Why do you think that so many... I worked with the visually impaired for 8 years, and I want to be clear about something with Seva.
You did.
With Seva, that it's not...
Yes.
That it's not... This is about dealing with all human beings. I mean, if a child in India has multiple disabilities, meaning that they're cognitively very impaired, and the vision is not even their number one disability, will Seva still correct vision for that child, even if they are not going to be a productive member of society?
Yeah, we do that stuff, but once again, cataract is our main thrust. Mm-hmm. And we're also doing eye care on American Indian reservations now.
Yeah, right. Because we have a ton of.
We used to be involved in many other aspects of the Native American culture. We took on what is that thing that is? Oh God, I can't remember. My chromosomes have amnesia.
I'm looking here.
But we helped build a clinic in Porcupine Reservation.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Chris Robinson and Bob Weir showed up for your 75th birthday party in 2011. You had John Lee Hooker and Roy Rogers.
Oh. Yeah, that was the Blues Against Blindness show. Bonnie Raitt was on that show. When I did a Cowboys for Indians show, and I had Stevie Ray Vaughan on that. And Stevie Ray was a really good friend of mine, and I was blown when Stevie Ray died in that plane crash, man. I think of all my dead friends, what a show I could put on.
Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, can you, at this point, is
Janice?
Bill Graham?
Yeah, Bill. Well, Bill, I'm still very connected with the members of the BGP, and Bob Barsotti, who was Bill's lieutenant and producer of record for 30 years with the Grateful Dead, has married into the Hog Farm family and is very much in charge of our concert putting ons. And we do this event every year honoring Kate Wolf on the property. This year, John Prine is playing.
Oh, that's fantastic. 1994, the Gaiuto Monks, Brent Midland, the third eyeball from Toronto with Richard Manuel. You have any memory of that? Richard Manuel, the third eyeball.
Of course, the third eyeball was one of the biggest shows I ever did. That was outside of Toronto in a place called Kingswood, and it was the band and the Grateful Dead. And I got it broadcast on NPR, and got Paul Krasner and Ken Kesey to be the radio hosts.
Dude, this is
And,
I've listened to those.
We had an after show at this.
Oh, go ahead.
We had an after show at this Japanese tea room with Sylvia Fricker of Ian and Sylvia and her band, the Great Speckled Bird. And Levon and Mickey Hart and a bunch of the folks sat in with Sylvia. It was real after everything else was done. And also in that Kingswood place, there was a carnival kind of scene also, and there was a ride called Hell in a Bucket, and the Deadheads thought it was built just for them. But it was a coincidence. A coincidence, which is a miracle that God doesn't take credit for.
Right. No, there are no coincidences. But I was going to say that, like, I mean, what
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about what this event?
Pink Floyd?
No,
were you about to say Pink Floyd?
No, what I was going to say is in Maui, you have this ideal setting. You have Krishna Das. You have your friend Joan Jackson Brown, who's performed before. What are you hoping? What is?
Yeah, and who's that guy? Who is the guy that Jackson is playing with? Do you know who that guy is?
I don't know. I just saw your name.
Let me look. I have his name somewhere here. I'm looking around.
But what is the one thing you want to convey to the audience? Like, what do you want to enlighten people about? Aside from
Greg Leis. Who's that?
Who's it? What's the last name?
Greg Leis. He's playing with Jackson.
That I don't know. That I
know he must be somebody though. He's on the bill.
I mean,
Jackson has done maybe 7 or 8 Save shows over the years, maybe even more.
So bizarre. Talking to Wavy Gravy here on the Jake Feinberg Show, and really quite an honor to have him on. You just talk a little bit about did the pranksters? Did Kesey got involved with the Kingswood, Ontario show?
Yes, he and Krasner were the radio hosts.
Can you talk about how originally why it wound up being in Toronto? Because it wasn't at that time with Jerry. It wasn't a very good idea to go across the border at all.
Well, yeah, but I was surprised. But the thing is, the reason we did it is we're also there is a spin-off of Save America, which is Save Canada. And when we raise money in Canada, the money is tripled by the Canadian International Development Agency. So we were able to do this big show and then have the money tripled for use in the field.
Wow. Did you
So that's why we were in Canada.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a whole bunch of folks that live in Canada that are on both boards, the American board and the Canadian board.
How, Wavy, I just wanted to ask you about, at that time, how close, did you try to be as much of a support to Jerry as possible? I know you were always taking care of the kids in the back, the Grateful Dead kids, but I mean, like in 1984 specifically, like in those years, were you there saying, "Hey, big fella, what is going on with you, man?" Like, I don't think there were many cats that could really talk to him about that.
No, Jerry and I talked about art. He was quite an artist.
He was.
And whenever I would find some new guy, like Basquiat, or Andy Andy Goldsworthy. Are you familiar with him?
I am.
A sculptor that does amazing stuff with natural, like sticks and leaves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes this amazing stuff. Yeah, so that was the I had with Jerry, who was talking about Andy Goldsworthy.
Right, and he wasn't aware though that of how he was close to like dying at that point. Like he should not have been alive.
Yeah. Yeah, oh God, somebody's trying to get me. Too bad.
You know what it is? What I'm trying to get at is, yeah.
God, I just went somewhere. Where did I go?
Sticks and
Jerry,
artists.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got some Jerry art. The guy who worked with my art for a number of years also promotes Jerry art, and I've got a bunch of real cool drawings and stuff over the years. God, I love Jerry so much.
Yeah, man.
You know, and I'm very close to mostly Trixie. Jerry's daughter?
Yeah, well, I mean, I am so obsessed. I've been talking to Sunshine Kesey, who was actually Mountain Girl.
Sunshine?
But Trixie's been very...
Trixie and Sunshine both went to Camp Winter Rainbow. And Sunshine was a counselor at Camp Winter Rainbow.
Get out of here.
For reals.
I mean, I love Wavy.
All those kids.
Yeah, you realize at this point, the last backstop to tyranny is basically Real Peeps. And if you're going to talk to Real Peeps all over the world right now, what would you talk about? I literally sat at a jam session today and played drums with my two friends who both were at Woodstock. In fact, my buddy had the campsite by the river before you got there. And then when you got there with all the extra food and stuff, you asked them to move a little bit of the ways down. But what would you talk to regular peeps about being vigilant in a time when we are really teetering with a very fragile economy, with an America that is more multicultural than ever before, and now a demagogic leader in the White House? What would be your advice to regular peeps to stay vigilant and feel liberated in this time?
Okay. When Kesey passed away, I had no idea what was going on, but I looked out my window and there were a whole bunch of TV trucks with their antennas, and I thought, uh-oh, something from my vector. And sure enough, the reporters came up the stairs and they asked me, you know, what I got from Kesey, and I said he gave me my family values, and they just about melted down.
Unpack
I said,
that.
what do you mean?
Yeah, right.
And if you ever look at the last supplement to the Whole Earth catalog, which is a beautiful, like almost comic book. R. Crumb did the cover to it with the Last Supper on the cover of the last supplement, and Kesey and I had this thing called Tools for My Chest. And one of the tools was listening to the music of Fred Neil. Wow. And another thing was honoring your father and mother. And I remember reading that and calling my parents up immediately, and they were stunned. And I had this beautiful breakthrough. And I called Ken to thank him. He said, well, come on, it's just so darn simple. But the greatest thing he gave me is to always put my good where it'll do the most. And that's a phrase that I pass on to the children of Camp Winter Rainbow and anybody else that I can tag it on to. Always try and put your good where it'll do the most. And if we do that, we can push the light beyond the Trumps of the world into the hearts and souls of each other to keep on keeping on.
I did. Could you talk about a time when you so eloquently just put that you do the most good? Can you talk about a time when you did that and you put it into you could talk about a specific example?
Well,
where you did the most good. Every
summer. every summer, can't people ask me, Wavy Gravy, what's your greatest legacy? And they expect me to say 4 million people not bumping into shit, when the reality of it is it's the children who have come out of Camp Winter Rainbow year after year after year with this message of putting your good where it'll do the most. And they have timing and balance because we taught them juggling and tightrope and trapeze, how to duck with a sense of humor and some compassion. And these are universal human beings that can change it all for the better. And I firmly believe that. And everywhere I go in the world, I run into somebody who's been to camp or his friends have been to camp. There is that camp connection everywhere. Europe, Asia, everywhere.
I spent 14 summers at a Jewish summer camp in upstate New York. It was the most meaningful experience of my entire existence. I also wonder, though, about Kesey's toolbox. There was something about education. I don't think we've ever dealt with this kind of lack of really experiential street scholar. We don't have that anymore. We don't have street scholars anymore. And I worry a lot about the fact that we are dealing in a time of fake news. People are really believing there's an alternative, reality going on. So I get that we can push past, that light can push past the darkness of people like Trump. I just wonder about how do you overcome when education has fallen and the inequity in education has fallen so drastically. What would be, what are you going to do? What can we do about that?
Put your good where it'll do the most. Just see where it is and follow the light and blow on it.
Can you, out of any?
I'm trying to think. You mentioned there are no street scholars, and I'm trying to remember this Zen guy. He's a big deal. He ran a homeless shelter in Yonkers, and he lived on the street. He's a Zen monk.
I need this. I need to talk about this. This is what I'm talking about. You can't.
You know who I'm talking about?
No, but
I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Oh God.
Let me ask you something. No, it will come to you, but can you just? I'm sorry, I missed it before because a lot of times it takes me. I have to go back and listen to our interviews, and then all of a sudden your stories make total sense, but on the fly it's a little bit different.
What's he talking about?
There's just 9 different stories, but the idea. Why was it called the Third Eye concert? Is that because there was a tertiary amount of finance coming in? I'm still trying to get the Third Eye concept.
Oh, we had done 2. They had done 2 small concerts in Canada called the Eyeball because of Seva, doing cataract surgery.
Right.
And then the third eyeball was just a natural because that's the third eye is the cosmic eye in the center of the forehead, which is the mystical one. The first eyeball, second eyeball, they're just the name of a couple concerts. But when you go for the third eyeball, that's the cosmos.
Oh, I dig. And Garth Hudson was channeling the cosmos through that saxophone of his.
And the organ.
Well, no, I'm looking at a picture from Toronto '84. You're somewhere in the crowd, and Garth Hudson's playing his saxophone there. You looked. In 1984 was an interesting. Did you ever use any of your jazz contacts? Thelonious was long gone, but have any jazzers been involved with the Seva benefit?
I know Branford, but that's not my jazz guys. Nope. The biggest ones were Jaki Byard.
Oh yeah.
Buell Neilinger, who was the bass player for Jimmy Giuffre.
No, hold on a second. I'm producing a film documentary on Stan Getz, and Buell Neidlinger. Are you still in touch with that cat? Because they were junkie.
No, he's in.
He's in Washington State. He played bass with Getz, and they were all strung out on heroin.
And Jimmy Giuffre.
And he played in the Great American String Band when Taj was off with David Nickturn.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You didn't? I talked to Nick.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, no, Buell
That's
and I.
Very interesting.
I talked to Nickturn. I did 2 interviews with your boy Nickturn, and who can sit in the Buddha style and play blues, but he broke down the Neidlinger.
I know.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really a rich, but again, overarching concept. Can you relate, Wavy, in any way?
I knew Charlie Hayden too.
Tell me about that.
Charlie Hayden,
well,
just
I'm saying,
somebody whose life I brushed. We were friends.
Because there was
who else?
Well, there was Horace.
Don Ellis turned out to be a big deal. Jaki Byard, great keyboard player.
Well, no, you had the Poetry Club, Jazz Club in Connecticut with Jaki Byard. It was ridiculous. That thing was insane. How cool that was. And what I'm getting at is like did you you and Thelonious hung and smoked that joint in the closet and whatever in L.A. at the
the Renaissance.
At the Renaissance, but also did you know Horace Tapscott? Did you know the other the jazzers from that time? That Wavy to me, this was
Blue Mitchell.
You knew Blue?
Yeah, he was with T Monk.
Dude, tell me about Blue. Blue Mitchell. Some of his solo stuff is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, he's obsessed with him.
I know Elvin Jones. I used to who I got into Elvin with is Richard Alderson. Now I'm going to give you something amazing. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, baby, go ahead. Oh yeah.
I was friends with E.H. Beresford Monk, Chip Monk. Chip Monk built the stage at Woodstock. Chip Monk was the light guy for all the Harry Belafonte tours and that kind of stuff, and he was lights. The sound guy comparable to Chip is a guy named Richard Alderson, who I did a bunch of recording with, who was the first guy to climb on a Nagra when you had to go to Switzerland and talk to the guy, and if he liked you, he'd sell you one. And Richard could record Nina Simone with his eyes closed. Wow. He'd just sit on those knobs, and where Nina went somewhere, he'd go there with her. Otherwise, people on a straight board, they couldn't deal with Nina never went to the same place twice. So anyhow, I got sent to do stuff with Richard, who also recorded the Holy Modal Rounders.
Sure.
With a So we were close to the Bobster in the early days, and we sent him Dylan.
Yeah, Bob Dylan.
To Richard's studio.
You introduced him as who? What's your name, kid? I remember that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But this is we were friends, and we encouraged Bob, Chip, me, all of us, to go up to Richard's studio and just play songs. And he went up there every day and recorded every song on earth. Now, do you know that they're just beginning to surface those tunes?
I had no idea.
I've only heard a ripple on the water that it's coming back. Richard took off with this wealthy lady to Mexico, and she bought him a county or something like that, and he was Don Ricardo, and anyhow, that collapsed, and now he's back on the scene. But all the stuff that he had was cutting edge at has all been taken over by science and electronics. But I had just read somewhere that Richard Alderson, Google him.
No, well, what I just Googled up, and this is really I'll be honest with you, the Dylan stuff is less interesting to me than the jazz poetry folk lyrics of John Brent, Len Chandler, and Hugh Romney, dude. When is that? When are there going to be some more?
Mercy.
When are the other tapes? When are the vaults going to be released on that stuff? Because this record,
God knows
this record
where
on
that's-
Amazon
I don't
is
know where that's.
$300 on this record on Amazon. $300 for this record. Beat Generation Jazz Poetry. Do you still speak to John Brent or Len at all?
No, John has been dead for a long time.
John's been gone for a long time. I know Len.
He was my best friend.
Can you just talk about his?
I just talked to Len a month or so ago.
Because Len introduced you to Reverend Gary Davis.
Yeah.
And you got married on those planks.
Yeah, and I got to go up to Reverend Gary Davis' house and eat peach pie and hang out. And then he did my wedding to me with my French girl that didn't last very long.
How many times?
My current wife I've been married to for 50 years. The French girl lasted 3.
I just want to be clear. The one you had the baby with, was she the one you found in India?
No, she was the one I found in Greenwich Village.
Okay.
She was working at the
How
cafe.
many wives have you had? 4, 3?
2, one for 50 years and one for 3.
Unbelievable. So I mean, but
And the one for 3 is I just wanted somebody that talked with a French accent and could fill out a bikini like nobody else on earth.
Right, except for that.
And I thought,
right, except for the dance teacher at BU who you really wanted to bone. What was her name?
who, Martha Graham?
Yeah, Martha Graham. You wanted to pork her, man.
She's more than a dance teacher. My God, she's the queen of all modern dance on earth.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean,
She used to kneel on my spine and say, contract. She had feet like cypress trees.
all right, Wavy, I'm going to ask you, can you tell me about the any collaborations that you ever did for or with Huey Newton or the Black Panthers?
No, I became friends with Huey through Bert Schneider. Bert Schneider is no longer of this orb, but Bert produced Easy Rider, among other things.
Right. So how did he connect you guys?
Huey would stay at Bert's house, and so would I.
What did you?
He took Huey. Bert took Huey to Cuba to smoke cigars with Fidel.
So if there's
Bert had the best house in Hollywood.
So Brilliant, Larry Brilliant. I mean, what is he? You guys just did a Q&A at in San Francisco for his new book. Is he going to be in Maui too?
Yeah. All of Seva, old Seva, new Seva, it's all going to be there. Everybody.
Can you just talk about?
This is a big deal.
Well, no, and I want you to explain at this point what are the biggest challenges facing global threats. What are the things that you guys are really trying to address? And is it really a crowd of very wealthy people? Or, I mean, what is this kind of thing going to look like? I'm still trying to figure out, because you know that Save a Benefit in Berkeley, BCT in 81, I mean, it was like a spotlight was on Garcia playing an acoustic. You could barely see anybody. This seems a little bit It seems a little bit high end. I mean, you're going to be going out there and eating raw fish and everything.
No. They were, aside from big deal tickets, most of the tickets were sold to regular people on the islands. The show sold out very rapidly. And it was just this thing. Ram Dass lives on Maui. He's in a wheelchair. And he's, 85, 86, something like that. And we just wanted to honor him. So many people don't get honored until they're dead. I think it's a great idea to honor people in their advanced geezerness.
So this is when you honor him. Tell us a story that you may or may not share in Maui about that would honor Ram Dass?
Well, this whole concert is honoring him. It's on the poster. This is an event honoring Ram Dass.
But for those peeps, that's
what it is.
But
and raising money for Seva. Those are the two things. It's a 1-2.
Is it mainly that the peeps in the third world,
which is putting our good where it'll do the most?
Absolutely, but I guess what I'm trying to get at, if it's so affordable and so accessible, why don't peeps? Is it just because of education, or because they're living? They don't have internet. They don't. How do you get these people? Does the money help these people get to where they need to go to get their eyes fixed?
Oh, go to seva.org and you'll know all about it. It's more than anything that I can transmit. We're active in so many countries around the world, and we have such great people that are doing that. My scene is because through the consciousness, the music biz, the various connects that I've had from the Gaslight, bringing in the old folk musicians that went to folk rockers, that went to rock and roll through Woodstock and beyond, and now I do Gathering of the Vibes almost every year. So I'm connected. My latest connects Derek Truck, Susan Tedeschi. That's Dr. John took me to Jazz Heritage last year as his guest, me and my wife.
Unbelievable.
It was phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
It was on my dear wife's bucket list, and wasn't able to go because of either money or time and circumstance. And he just happened to have an empty hotel room in his block, and scooped us up. And I got to hang with Mac when he did the rehearsal for the honoring of B.B. King, and even better than that, with Elvin Bishop when they did the rehearsal for honoring Alan Toussaint. Oh, my God, in a church.
C-Sane Studios. Yeah, no, could you have a good Elvin Jones story, actually? You got to know Elvin?
Just that he was hanging out with Richard and did a bunch of tapings with Richard for a documentary about pigeons. And so we hung out for about a week while he was taping with Richard Alderson.
So he would just play drums and you were hanging out there?
I went to see Cowboy Movie with Billy Joe Jones.
No way.
In North Beach.
Oh, my God. This is sick. You and Philly, you were up in North Beach at Carol Doda's place and all the jazzers?
No, I was in the committee. It's an improvisational theater. We did topless satire.
Okay, wait a minute.
The committee, 15 years, we were on Broadway, and it was, speaking out against the war and against Nixon and, like that. We were a bastion of the left. It was a great thing, the committee, like Second City in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Equally cool.
I dig. I'm just trying to get the idea that you were doing literally topless theater in North.
No. We used to say that because of Carol Doda and stuff. That we actually wore. I tried to look as normal as possible, so I could turn into different characters. So my appearance, I was trying to be every man. No whiskers, shirt and tie and suit, and we took suggestions to the audience and took an intermission and decided to do improvs on various suggestions, and it was great fun. It was letting your brain jump out of your ear and hop around. It was wonderful, wonderful time. My years with the committee.
What was how would they,
And Brent was in the committee. Brent was also in Second City.
John Brent.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say is that you got El Cid's, you got the Condor, Big Al's, the Roaring Twenties. Those were strip clubs. Then you had Basin Street West. Where would you
Stop.
guys?
Del Close. You familiar with Del?
I love Del. You told me
Del
about.
Close.
Yeah, Del. No,
He and John Brent made this record for Mercury called "How to Speak Hip."
How to Speak Hip?
Yeah.
Well, no.
It was like a Berlitz thing. It's a great album. You can get this. Go get it.
I would know, but I will. I just want to ask you, what venues was the committee performing at? You weren't at strip clubs. You weren't at jazz.
We had
clubs.
our own theater.
What was it called?
We had our own theater on Broadway.
What was it called?
The committee.
The theater.
It's world famous.
The committee was the theater was called the committee.
Yeah, as was the company. Was called, like the Second City was called the Second City in Chicago.
Yeah, right. And this is unbelievable stuff. All right, say what was the name of the record?
We even made a movie for Columbia of improvisation, The Committee. We also took a road company to L.A. for a while, and even to Broadway. I think that's how I first got hired. Is they were taking the A company to Broadway, and they needed to fill the stage in San Francisco. So that's when I hopped into it instead of doing stand-up.
One final question for you, Wavy, in part 3 of our interview here with Wavy. He's on his way to Maui next week for the Save a Benefit, and with Joan Baez, Jackson Brown, Krishna Das, and Larry Brilliant. Do you remember? Did you play a role, or did you play a part in Zed Kesey's funeral? Jed, sorry, my God, Jed Kesey's funeral. George Walker.
I was a friend of Jed's, but I did not.
Can you just talk about?
I did not. I visited his grave on the farm.
Right. Trixie mentioned that
that was a rough one, a really rough one for Ken and Faye, and she's now married to Larry McMurtry.
Apparently, she lives in Tucson too.
Kesey's widow.
Yeah, I know. She lives down here, but Zane won't give me her number. No, the thing is that
it's with Larry McMurtry. That shouldn't be hard.
I know, but he's actually.
But Faye, you won't get Faye to talk. Faye won't do it.
I don't even know. I don't even know. It's okay. Trixie said that it would be a good idea to have the Kesey
really?
farm become a museum.
That's a good idea.
You like that, right? And Stephanie said that it's a big idea. We should talk about it. But I think that would be great to do that, museum and get busts of you and Elvin Jones and John Brent.
Who used to hang out at Kesey's was Roland Kirk.
He hung out with Babs and he hung out with Kesey?
Yeah, he liked acid too. And he could play 3 saxophones at once.
Well, I know that. I knew that they were infatuated with him. I didn't know he hung out with them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wavy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I'm working back channels very hard to get to Larry Brilliant by the end of the week. I really feel honored to be able.
Larry's heading for Maui in a couple days.
That's what I'm trying to get to him, dude. I called everybody. I got Margolis on it. I got Save on it. Obviously you're best buddies with him, but yeah, no, I mean, when you get back, could you connect me with Len Chandler?
Sure.
I need to talk to this cat, Jazz.
Sure, that shouldn't be. Isn't he listed in L.A.?
I don't know. I just know that you guys, this Jazz.
I would try it. I think he's listed.
You think he's in the Musicians Union?
No, I think he's listed in the phone book.
All right. Well, if I have no luck with that, I'm coming back to you.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm honored to help you out, man.
Yeah, man. Wavy, I love.
But what did I give to you? You need to find Richard Alderson, and you should be interested in the fact that he recorded Bob Dylan singing every song in the world. It's not nothing.
No. You're right. I did not mean to poo-poo it. What the other thing is?
Oh, I recorded. What was it? Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Colin
From
Walcott.
Wind in the Willows with
already
Colin
did that.
Walcott.
Already did
Do you
that.
know who Colin Walcott is?
I interviewed every member of Oregon: Towner, Moore, and McCandless. I love Colin. We talked.
Okay.
I've already transcribed our story, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. People love it.
Oh, my
Listen,
gosh.
you know this, Wavy. Your stories are bouncing all over Facebook because of me. They're highly okay, and just continue forward, man. Have a ball down there. Tell Krishna Das, because you're going to be blown away by him. I'm
gonna.
All right, have a ball, and we'll be in touch when we get back. But thank you so much for being part of the program, man.
Did Krishna Das talk to you about Joya, Ramdas's girlfriend?
No.
Another time.
All right, brother. Yeah, much love to you. Safe travels.
All right.
Later,
Big love.
later on, Wavy. And that's it. Wavy Gravy via Skype here on the Jake Feinberg Show. Another cosmic transmission with just a legendary performer and player. And we're going to rejoin the Jim Parisi Show in progress. We'll be back tomorrow with John B. Williams on the Jake Feinberg Show.
Called my daughter and son in, and I said, guys, I'm not trying to be racist, but tell me what this name is. And my son said, I think she botched her name, like said it a certain way by accident. And I said, no,